Imagine you go to a doctor and they say it's rare to find someone who's completely healthy. In a similar way, if someone really knows people, they might say nobody is totally free from feeling a bit uneasy or worried deep inside. Everyone might have a feeling of unrest, a kind of inner fight, or being worried about something they can't even explain. Soren Kierkegaard, a wise philosopher, talked about this, saying we all might feel anxious about things we don't understand, or even about ourselves. Back in 1947, W.H. Auden wrote a poem called The Age of Anxiety, which really fits how many people feel today. Anxiety is very common, and even if someone doesn't have a big anxiety problem, they might still feel a bit anxious now and then. Most people think feeling anxious isn't good, and try to get rid of these feelings by keeping busy, looking for fun distractions, or sometimes using medicines or other things to feel better. But people who have really looked into this feeling of anxiety say it's not so simple. Anxiety plays a big role in our lives. Freud, a famous thinker, said understanding anxiety could help us understand a lot about our minds. We're going to talk about what Soren Kierkegaard thought about anxiety and how it affects us. First, it's helpful to know the difference between fear and anxiety. They're both reactions to feeling threatened, but the kind of threat is different. Fear comes from a threat we know and can point to. Anxiety is different. It's feeling threatened, but not knowing exactly why. Fear makes us ready to run away or fight, but anxiety can make us freeze because we don't know what to do. Dealing with really bad anxiety can be very tough, but most people don't have to face that level of anxiety all the time. Instead, there's a milder form of anxiety that's just part of everyday life. Kierkegaard called this angst, or existential anxiety. He thought this kind of anxiety was actually important for living life fully. Kierkegaard said that if humans were just animals or angels, they wouldn't feel anxiety. But because humans are a mix of both, they can feel anxiety. The more anxious a person can feel, the greater they can be. In his book, Kierkegaard said that feeling existential anxiety starts when we become self-aware. When we're kids, we just grow and do things without thinking much about it. But as we grow up, we start to see we have freedom and lots of choices. Realizing we have so many choices can make us feel anxious. Kierkegaard called this feeling the dizziness of freedom. He compared feeling this way to standing on the edge of a cliff, looking into an abyss. Besides being afraid of falling, there's also a strange feeling knowing you could jump if you wanted to. Life is full of choices like standing on that cliff. We know we're free to choose, which can be exciting but also scary. Some people might try to avoid feeling this freedom because it makes them anxious. They act as if their world and life can't change. This might make them feel less anxious, but it also stops them from growing and trying new things. Moving forward in life means being open to new possibilities, which means feeling anxious sometimes. Without being able to deal with anxiety, we wouldn't take risks, explore new things, or find out what we're capable of. We need to be able to choose and create new paths for ourselves. Kierkegaard thought learning to deal with anxiety was very important. If we run away from the choices and possibilities in front of us, we might end up feeling sad and like we're not going anywhere. Life without new choices or freedom can feel empty and hopeless. Since having choices and freedom means feeling a bit anxious, we should try to understand and deal with our anxiety in a good way. James Hollis, a psychologist, said we have to make a tough choice between feeling anxious or feeling really down. If we try to move forward, we might feel a lot of anxiety. But if we don't try new things, we'll feel down, like we're stuck. So it's better to choose anxiety because it means we're growing. Feeling down means we're not going anywhere in life. Unlike attempting to define freedom through a simple definition, Kierkegaard introduced a revolutionary perspective that emphasized the subjective experience of truth and freedom. Kierkegaard believed that truth and freedom were inherently personal and could only be fully understood within the context of one's relationship with the absolute God. He argued that the human soul is the unique place where one can consciously respond to God's voice, thus highlighting the intimate connection between individual freedom and divine creativity. Ethical dimension of freedom. Kierkegaard's perspective on freedom was not just about the capacity to choose between different options, but was deeply tied to the ethical implications of those choices. He differentiated between fear and anxiety, suggesting that while fear is a reaction to a known threat, anxiety stems from the awareness of freedom and the overwhelming possibilities it presents. This dizziness of freedom leads to existential anxiety, a feeling that is both unsettling and essential for personal growth. Kierkegaard's writings reveal a profound understanding that true freedom involves more than just the absence of constraints. It requires an ethical engagement with the world and a commitment to personal responsibility. For Kierkegaard, the essence of freedom lies in the individual's ability to make choices that are aligned with one's deepest values and convictions, even in the face of uncertainty and doubt. The role of pseudonyms. One of the most fascinating aspects of Kierkegaard's work is his use of pseudonyms. He wrote under various names, not to confuse his readers, but to explore different viewpoints and to engage with the complexities of truth, freedom, and ethics from multiple perspectives. This approach allowed Kierkegaard to dissect and challenge his own thoughts, providing a richer and more nuanced exploration of the themes central to his philosophy. Kierkegaard and personal choice. At the heart of Kierkegaard's philosophy is the emphasis on personal choice and the existential commitment to live authentically. He believed that each individual faces the task of creating meaning in their life through the choices they make. This existential choice is not about selecting among trivial options, but involves a profound engagement with one's own existence and the courage to face the anxiety that accompanies freedom. Existentialism and beyond. Kierkegaard is often regarded as the father of existentialism, a philosophical movement that places the individual's experience of existence, freedom, and choice at its core. His work laid the groundwork for later existentialist thinkers who further explored the themes of alienation, authenticity, and the absurd. Conclusion. Kierkegaard's exploration of the ethical dimension of freedom challenges us to confront the complexities of our existence. He invites us to embrace the anxiety that comes with freedom as a catalyst for personal growth and ethical living. By recognizing the deeply subjective nature of truth and freedom, Kierkegaard encourages us to engage in a lifelong journey of self-discovery, grounded in ethical responsibility and a commitment to living authentically. Continuing our discussion about Soren Kierkegaard and his profound insights into anxiety and human existence, let's delve into the life of this remarkable philosopher. Born on May 5, 1813, Kierkegaard was a thinker who significantly influenced Christian thought and philosophy. He was known for his towering hair and his challenging ideas that often went against traditional beliefs. Kierkegaard grew up in an environment that valued deep thinking, which clearly influenced his philosophical journey. Despite his significant contributions, he often questioned his own ideas, showing a level of self-reflection that's rare. Here are some interesting facts about his life that might give us more insight into his work. 1. A broken engagement influenced his work. Kierkegaard's engagement to Regine Olsen was a major event in his life. He called off the engagement, a decision that deeply affected him and influenced his early writings. This period of turmoil led to a burst of productivity, where he published 7 books in 3 years. 2. He left his belongings to his ex-fiancée, showing his deep connection to Regine Olsen. Kierkegaard left his books to her in his will, treating their broken engagement with the seriousness of a marriage. 3. He often disagreed with himself. Kierkegaard used pseudonyms to explore different viewpoints, even arguing against his own ideas. This unique method allowed him to thoroughly examine complex questions from multiple angles. 4. Lived off an inheritance. Kierkegaard was able to focus on his writing thanks to an inheritance from his father. This financial security enabled him to live independently and self-publish his works. 5. He dared a newspaper to mock him. After a dispute with a satirical paper, The Corsair, Kierkegaard challenged them to make fun of him. They did, subjecting him to public ridicule, which he later said helped him understand Christianity more deeply. 6. A champion of individuality. Kierkegaard critiqued the prevailing philosophies and the state church for promoting conformity. He believed in the importance of individuality and the personal journey of faith. 7. Faith requires doubt. He argued that true faith in God involves acknowledging doubt. Without doubt, faith becomes too easy, lacking the depth of a truly committed belief. 8. The father of existentialism. Kierkegaard's emphasis on individual experience and the subjective nature of truth laid the groundwork for existentialist philosophy, influencing thinkers like Friedrich Nietzsche and Jean-Paul Sartre. 9. He rarely left his hometown. Despite his profound impact on philosophy, Kierkegaard rarely traveled, choosing to stay close to his home in Copenhagen. 10. Died young after a spinal problem. Kierkegaard died at 42 due to a spinal disease. His early death left the world with a rich but incomplete exploration of his philosophical ideas. Kierkegaard's life and work remind us that understanding our own experiences of anxiety, freedom, and faith requires deep self-reflection. His teachings encourage us to embrace our doubts and fears as part of our journey towards personal growth and understanding. Just as Kierkegaard navigated his complex feelings and thoughts through writing, we can learn to explore our own inner worlds more deeply, finding strength in our vulnerabilities and uncertainties.